who are the key players outside of the US and DTCC that you think need to be involved in that?
Well, I do think one of the fundamental barriers to getting to that state where we're able to operate in a global financial ecosystem efficiently, and I don't think that's far away. I actually think it's much closer than many people realize. And I'm expecting next year to have that be the centerpiece of the tone of this conference is, look, we're finally there.
So the appetite of Tradfi to start moving balances on chain and to prepare for that moment, I'd say is higher than anything I've ever seen. And I've been working with Tradfi since 2016 on the topic. It's night and day difference.
Really? How are you seeing that?
Everyone wants to get involved. My friend, everyone's worried now about, missing the moment.
Alrighty, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to another CYPRX video breakdown. In today's video breakdown, I want to take some time and really remind everyone where we are actually at in this cycle. We are standing on the cusp of regulatory clarity that financial institutions have been waiting for to fully onboard in this space for years now. The landscape has already started to shift. Regulators and banks, for the first time ever, are no longer approaching the digital asset ecosystem with the same hesitation that they once previously did.
And what you're beginning to see for the first time ever is clarity in the crypto space. But it's super important for people to realize. Clarity usually happens in like one small specific area, right? But crypto's undergoing clarity in 4 areas right now at the exact same time. It's seeing regulatory clarity. It's seeing legislative clarity, it's seeing banking clarity, which goes to your question, and it's seeing accounting clarity. And what I mean by that is look at what's happening. For the first time ever, the SEC and the CFTC are all sort of really beginning to launch these crypto sprints, start to give definitions of what things mean, start to work together collectively to ensure that people at least know what they're building towards. Right? When you get into the legislative camp, right, the US passed the first ever legislation in the crypto space with the DeFi broker rule being repealed, right? It passed its first real serious crypto, I would say, positive step forward with the Genius Act. It's currently debating and discussing market structure surrounding sort of the DeFi ecosystem. This is unbelievable, right? Then you get to banking. And here's a really fascinating one. Like I sat down with a big bank the other day, and I said to the individual, I'm still laughing to this day as to the fact that we could now talk to each other. Like there was a point that they wouldn't return my calls. Now you have to remember, when I was at Time, some of the biggest banks were some of our biggest partners. When I was at Bloomberg, I worked with all of them very closely. So I know all these folks. And for a while, like I was sort of like a leper on the leper colony, right? Like, I don't know what to say. Like, it's true. I knew I could make you laugh with that, Raul. That's going to be the clip, right? That's my hamburger clip.
Leper colony.
Leper. I was a leper, right? Like that's how I felt in the first, 2 years of building, right? Because we were building against such headwinds. But the big banks now, for the first time ever, are engaging, and they've repealed in the United States a lot of like the rules for the big banks to be able to participate in this evolution, right? And ultimately, like we're seeing a tremendous amount of support. I mean, I can say publicly that Citigroup, Bank of America, JPM have all been unbelievable in the past, I would say 3, 4, or 5 months in terms of sitting down with us and having constructive conversations, real conversations. This is not saying that they're like saying, oh, we'll do anything, but like for the first time ever, we can have real conversations with them. And that is unbelievably appreciated, right?
So as you heard the CEO of MoonPay mention that for the first time ever, they're finally able to sit down with financial institutions and talk about this digital evolution in a comfortable manner. Take that into consideration, considering all the content that has previously existed on the internet, talking about bullish this, bullish that. Well, now for the first time ever, we are truly seeing institutional engagement. Every single market cycle prior to the one that we're about to experience and live through has been primarily driven by retail investors. This is a massive transformation, not only in the crypto ecosystem with the onboarding of financial institutions, but over the next 5 years, we are going to see substantial amounts of activity in the crypto ecosystem, the likes in which we have never seen before, more so than what we've seen over the past 16 to 17 years in crypto's history. Now, 2025 has proven to be another foundational year in crypto. I'll give it that, laying the groundwork for institutions to really onboard. But all signs are pointing to 2026 through 2028 as the period when the explosive bull run that many expected in 2025 could possibly truly unfold. And so I want to give you guys some insights into some ongoing developments, some of the regulations that need to be firmly implemented, and when those timelines, supposedly according to Congress members, exist as to when they could come into fruition, so that way you guys have a clear understanding of when institutions could really truly start to onboard into the space. But like I said, 2026 on to 2028, think about it, that is only a 2-year period. We're at the end of 2025. 2025 is over. Most people, when you say, oh, 2028, they're like, oh my gosh, that's so long from now. That's 2026, 2027, boom, 2028. That's 2 years, collectively speaking, away from where we stand today. And 2 years from now, it'll be September 2027. We'll be rolling into 2028. That is not that much time away. So don't take that and be like, oh my gosh, that's so long from now. Understand that 2 years is not a long time, and it will give this space much more time to mature so that the foundation is really truly laid. But don't take my word for it. Listen in to industry leading experts like Sandy Kual, who has credentials that are valid and active right now. The DTCC, the CFTC, the World Economic Forum, and Franklin Templeton host that same perspective.
What are your predictions from here for, obviously for the crypto space and for the sector?
Yeah, I think that this regulation and this rule set that allows us to move on to the new rails is going to happen a lot faster than people anticipate, right? So I used to think it was going to take us probably 5 to 10 years. Given the speed at which I think things are actually moving, I think that 3 to 5 years, we will be hitting that point that we spoke about, Tony, where assets are flowing out of traditional investment products and into these tokenized products at a pace that starts to slow potential capital raising in traditional products. And so I think that this is going to be a real race over the next 5 years. Firms that today have not begun to think about a wallet-based strategy and tokenized products are going to have to play catch up very rapidly. And I think firms like ours, where we're advanced in building these new infrastructures and operating in these new environments, will see a tremendous advantage in our capital raising as this transition starts to take place.
Now, I know there's going to be a whole bunch of people that get in their feelings and are like, oh my gosh, 3 to 5 years, that's such a long time. But looking out at the bigger spectrum of things, it's really truly not. 3 years puts us to 2028. 5 years puts us at 2030, heading into the 2030 agenda era. So really buckle down and understand that these are insights stemming from an individual that comes from globally systemic important organizations in not only the financial ecosystem, but now involved in the crypto ecosystem as well. I hope that she's wrong, and I hope that it happens next year. I hope that it happens the year after that. So a 2-year time period. I firmly believe that it will. I think that it's going to continue to accelerate. And once one institution onboards after regulatory clarity is firmly in place and clear, all these institutions are really going to start to flood in, but we have to set ourselves realistic expectations. Could it happen before her time frame and projection? Absolutely. Could it happen during her time frame horizon? Yes. Could it happen after? Absolutely. We have to be prepared for anything. But bottom line is understanding that these pullbacks, these trials and tribulations that we're going to go through in the short term should not be seen as fear-based events, and instead should be seen as opportunities to dollar cost average into blue chip digital assets to position yourself on the right side of history. We know that right now the market is primarily driven by intraday fundamentals, especially if you've been watching the CYPRX platform. That means things like central bank policy divergences, geopolitical risks, and tariff uncertainties. These factors can weigh on sentiment in the short term, causing these intraday pullbacks and these massive depreciations temporarily in price action. And we may even see more corrective moves ahead, especially if liquidity conditions worsen or if central banks like the Bank of Japan substantially hike interest rates, creating unwindings of the yen carry trade, so on and so forth. But once these headwinds are behind us, the stage will be set for institutional adoption on a scale that we have never witnessed before, especially if you've been involved in crypto as long as I have, since 2016. We have never seen mass adoption via institutions in this space ever. And that is happening for the first time. Now, I want you guys to listen to this gentleman here. He is the CEO of Ondo Finance. This is on a Defiant podcast. Shout out to the Defiant for this one, where he goes on to talk about the type of clarity that institutions need to see before coming into the space. He particularly talks about the market structure bill and that is the foundational legal framework that these financial institutions are waiting for. And then we're going to take a second and listen to a Congress member talk about when she particularly perceives that market structure bill will be signed into fruition. Take a second here and listen, and this will give you guys insights into the near future in the coming months ahead.
Going forward, how do you see that evolving? Like, what will drive more of traditional finance onto, have more of their balance sheets in?
Yeah, historically, the big lacking factor was just regulatory clarity, right? A lot of the big TradFis will only move meaningful assets on chain if they can figure out who the qualified custodian is, and if they feel comfortable that the regulatory framework is clear enough so that internally the person who's saying, yes, please move significant funds over on chain, that they don't get into trouble. Clarity historically has been lacking. Now with the Genius Act passing, I think there's a lot of hope that clarity is coming. I do think we need the market structure bill to pass, because that will truly mark the moment where the TradFis have true clarity on how custody can work, how they can implement their custody solutions, who can actually hold these assets on chain, can that entity also hold crypto and the like. So once that bill passes, I think you'll see even more movement of TradFis on chain. But the writing right now is on the wall given the Genius Act. So the appetite of TradFis to start moving balances on chain and to prepare for that moment, I'd say is higher than anything I've ever seen. And I've been working with TradFi since 2016 on the topic. It's night and day difference.
Really? How are you seeing that?
Everyone wants to get involved. Quite frankly, everyone's worried now about, missing the moment.
This gentleman from Ondo Finance literally just confirmed institutional FOMO is taking place. He's been involved in crypto since I have 2016, and said that he has never seen the type of institutional involvement in the years that he's been involved in crypto like he has in recent times. This is huge news right here, and should give you guys an insightful perspective into what is coming in the couple months and years ahead, which should, again, hopefully motivate you guys to take advantage, again, not financial advice, I know what I'm personally doing, to take advantage of these discounted opportunities when they become available to us by understanding fundamentals, understanding the headline drivers that weigh on market sentiment in the short term, but then understanding that the underlying infrastructure in crypto is still predominantly bullish. Once the headwinds are behind us, like I said, I have a firm belief that we are going to see a substantial amount of onboarding via financial institutions and capital allocation to this space. Last but not least, coming over here, we have Congress Representative Cynthia Loomis go on to talk about when she believes that this market structure bill will be signed into fruition. So what I would say is that after this finally comes into fruition, if in her time span it actually materializes and is signed into act, then I firmly believe that 6 to 8 months after that is when we will truly start to see institutions flood into this space at scale. So that projects us out into like maybe summertime 2026, spring to summertime 2026. Take a second and listen here to what she says, considering what the gentleman from Ondo Finance said.
I want to thank everyone who's here for taking the time to give us some good feedback. We got 3 bound volumes worth of feedback. And so we're working through that. So here's the plan. We go back to work in the Senate on September 3rd. We are working market structure with the goal of having it out of the Senate Banking Committee by the end of September. And then the Ag Committee, the Senate Ag Committee, hopefully will work their part of it, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission part of market structure, through the month of October. And we will have market structure to the president's desk before the end of the year. I hope it's before Thanksgiving. So that's our goal. So we will have market structure done this year. And
so their goal is to have it on the president's desk before Thanksgiving. That puts us into November. So let's say that does happen, right? 6 to 8 months from then is my projection on when we are going to start to really truly see institutional inflows into the space, as long as the headwinds in the crypto ecosystem, i.e. intraday fundamentals that weigh temporarily on risk sentiment, are behind us. As always, just trying to bring you guys some of the realest information. No hopium, no hype here. Utilizing perspectives via people with actual credentials in the space to give you a realistic time horizon and projection out into the future as to when we could really truly see all of this materialize. With that being said, many blessings to you guys. Do us a favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe to the platform. We do appreciate the love and the support, and I'll see you guys in the next video breakdown.